Hey guys, welcome back to another NFL division preview on the Fins Up Ramley YouTube channel. Today we are discussing the NFC Least, Ashton, as they are not so gratefully known to NFC East fans, and wrapping up the NFC divisional preview. Well, Ashton, last year this division was not the best, as the winning team, the Washington football team, did not even have a winning record. So it is anybody's guess who is going to win the division, and we will jump in and try our best to predict who we think will walk off. So, Ashton, I will let you start with the first team we'll be dissecting today. That is the interesting, always overhyped a little bit, Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, let's just start off, Andy. I think this is the second hardest division to kind of predict besides the AFC North. When it comes to I really think in the AFC North, three of the four all almost have equal chance to win that division, right? Really, really competitive division in the terms of who can win it. This one is a four-way race. I really do think that, and that's you know it's really shocking how last year every team was in it, even though they had like around 5 wins near the end of the season. That's ridiculous. I do think this division as a whole won't be as bad as last year. Going into it, the Cowboys, I mean, they have a strong roster. I think that's one of the best attributes of their team in the last 10, 20 years is they're really good at building great quality rosters. The coaching, not so much. And I think that's the thing that holds back the Cowboys a lot is terrible coaching. Say what you want, like the last coach, he wasn't bad, he wasn't good. He was the definition of mediocrity with Jason Garrett. And now you go to Mike McCarthy, which only won a single Super Bowl with Aaron Rodgers, and I think that is a criminal offense. I really do. That's like only winning one if you get Patrick Mahomes for 10 years. That shouldn't happen, or at least getting only the one. And he goes over to the Cowboys, and I think we saw that experiment not work out last year at all. You could say they had a lot of injuries. You could say that Zeke kind of took a step back. But overall, I just think they were lackluster offensively, and that's what drove them the 3 or 4 years beforehand. And their defense was still mediocrity. Of course, they get some decent pickups in free agent this year. You're gonna hopefully have Zeke back. You're gonna have hopefully have Dak back, and the question is, can Dak not only not recede in quality, can he make maybe another step forward and become a top five QB? I think we all agree he has the talent to do it, but does he have the decision making, Andy? Can he not just make the long 60-yard throws when a wide receiver is wide open, but what if they have great coverage? What if he's down 10 points? And I think you saw a
Mm-hmm.
lot of games when he's been in, they're always down and they're always chasing. And yeah, he gives up a good fight, but it just the coaching isn't there to get him over the hump. So, Andy, I think the Cowboys have a other lackluster season. They're one of those teams that has the talent, just doesn't utilize it correctly. I have them with the ninth most offense this year. I do think they have a bounce back year in offense, but I have them having the 23rd defense. And that is not acceptable. It just overall. So I have them going 6-11 with
Okay.
the ninth most offense. And people will be like, but how can you guys, you have to realize the Chargers went 7-9 with the number one offense and defense. Just because you have number one offense or defense isn't a guarantee to wins. It's how you utilize that offense and stuff like that. Now it helps. You're more statistically likely to have wins, but that I just have them having another downside year.
I mean, yeah, I definitely see where you're coming from, Ashton. I think last year, offensively, they were a top 15 unit last year, even, after Dak went down. So offense clearly is not the problem. They have a really deep receiver core. CD Lamb is there, Gallup is there, obviously Mari Cooper. So they're not sure when it comes to the receiving and offensive line. Still is really strong. Question marks though. How will Dak come back after that nasty, nasty injury last week? Last year. How will he come back? Will he be full strength as he was last year at the start, looking like he was going to break records, or is he going to be a little slow off the gate? We got to see how that plays out. Ezekiel Elliott last year looked really bad for his standards. Can he come back to form? If you're right, and they're going to have a really good unit, a top 10 unit for sure, if everyone's healthy and back to normal. And I really do like their offseason additions on their defense. That defense last year, Ashton, was the biggest problem for them. They allowed so many points against them. It kept them out of a lot of games they could have won. The Cowboys should have won the NFC East last year. They had the most talented team, but they didn't. Defense was a huge reason why. They go out, they sign Keanu Neal, great safety from the Falcons. That's going to hugely boost their secondary, which they needed. And they go out trying to replace Sean Lee, who retired this offseason, a very veteran franchise linebacker they had, but they go get Micah Parsons in the first round, who looks to be like a complete stud. Great selection there for the Cowboys. And don't sleep on that fourth round pick from the LSU Tigers, Ashton, and Jabril Cox. You know about him. You wanted him for the Rams back in the earlier rounds, and me and you were watching the draft. But Cowboys got him in the fourth round. I think that's a steal of a pick for them. Instantly improved their linebacker core. You still got Vander Esch there. So I like the Cowboys this year, but how will the coaching, like you said, hold them back? I think that's also a huge problem. I do not like Mike McCarthy. I think that was too much of a conservative pick by Jerry Jones, and it was enough that I think this team, if everything goes right, could win the NFC East, but they're not going past the wild card round, Ashton. I think both me and you definitely agree on that. So with everything that being said, I like the Cowboys talent-wise, but I think with coaching and still some questions on some of the defensive side of the ball and how well will Dak come back after injury and how will Zeke respond after a bad year. I got the Cowboys going 7-10 this season, so very close to you, just one game difference. So let's move on, Ashton. As you know, we kind of agree on the first pick. That's good. That doesn't happen always. As we know, last prediction video, we definitely differed on the Vikings. Go watch that if you have not checked that out. Let's move on to a team that I think both me and you can safely say, at least I hope, is the worst team in the NFC East. That is the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, this team has not looked good. I mean, last year they weren't good. They have, the problems with their coaching staff that they had there. I mean, they lost to Deshaun Jackson, now Sean Jeffrey. Now, I know they both were injury prone, didn't see the field much, but you look at the receiving core now, and it's not the deepest or the best because of these losses. How will Jalen Hurts play now that he is the full-time number one? No question about it. You have I like Miles Sanders down there, but he's still not the best number one, as you can tell at the running game. Defensively wise, they're still not that good, and they didn't do too much to address that in the offseason. I mean, they go and they get Anthony Harris, who I really do like that pickup, but it's not going to be a huge difference because you signed one good secondary piece, right? Last season, they were 24th in offense. They were bottom 20 in defense, so they weren't good across the board. I don't see much changing. They do go get Devontae Smith. He's going to be huge for them, I think, but him alone cannot change a passing attack. You need more than one piece. We see that throughout constantly in the NFL today. And I like some of their picks throughout the draft. You get a center in Landon Dickerson. You got the defensive end from Coastal Carolina and Taron Jackson, who I think could be a sleeper pick in the 6th round. So I think they did some good things. It's definitely still a rebuild mode for the Eagles this year, and I got them going 4-13 because of it.
Yeah, so Andy, with the Eagles, the biggest thing, at least for me with them, is how is the coach gonna do? Because I think everyone on the face value coming into it thinks he's gonna fail spectacularly because of a few bad press conferences and a few other various factors. But there's an opening in this division, and if he can surprise and come out, like, they do have some good talent on this roster, and the question is still out, or the jury's still out on whether Hertz can succeed or not in Philly.
Mm-hmm.
There's definitely a lot of pressure on both, on the coach and on the QB, and this will be make it or break it year for both. Um, I haven't really seen much about this coach going into this season, so they are a big question mark. But I tend to agree. I think they're gonna have a lackluster year. I don't have them doing as bad as you do. Just because I think this division is a weird division where even if all teams are bad, they play each other very well. It are not bad in the sense of like their rosters are bad, but they always have competitive games, and I think that's true for every division, but especially this one. And they're very grinded out games too compared to other divisions where it's shootouts. So I expect Philly to pick off mostly wins in their own division, have a few upsets here or there. They're going to be a very weird team. I have them going, I believe, 7-10.
Okay, that's a little bit higher than me. I do see Cowboys doing better at the end than the Eagles, but again, you're right. I mean, the NFC East is a division where you honestly sometimes don't know, and it's just you're throwing pasta to the wall, hoping it sticks. But let's move on to a team that we know, Ashton, will be a good team. The question is, how good will they be? How much of a leap will they make from their playoff appearance last year, where they gave the Buccaneers every bit a run for their money with really no quarterback? All your
Best team against them.
Now, this is really hard for me, Ashton. The football team, and then we're going to talk about the Giants, are the two who I think are going to be neck and neck for the winning the division. It was tough for me to decide who won the division. Ultimately, I think it came down to the schedule. But let me break down this football team offseason, right? They go and they get Curtis Samuel, speedy receiver out of Carolina. Good pickup to help, not just help Terry McLaurin there, not be the only receiver, right? You know they got Fitzmagic, but we do know how when he's been hot and he becomes a starter, he doesn't always do so well after that. It's happened time and time again. Will history repeat itself in Washington, or will he finally be consistent and lead a team that is destined defensively to make it to the playoffs? Can he get that offense to that level, right? Because last year they were 30th in offense. They were bad offensively, but they had the second best defense, and depending on the metrics you use, second to third, depending on who you ask. But they had a lights out pass rush. You know how Chase Young is down there. It's amazing. Montez Sweet down there in the line. They go and they do lose Ryan Kerrigan. Not the biggest problem though. I like their draft picks. You go and you get Samuel Cosme in the second round, Dwame Brown, the receiver. I like those picks. The offense is the biggest question here, Ashton. I know Ron Rivera, very defensive-minded coach. It's going to be another good year for the Washington football team. How far will they go, though? I think the offense is going to be the key, right? I don't think the running back core is going to be enough to lead this team with Gibson and McKissick down there. And then the offensive line is serviceable, but it's not great. They got the draft pick. We'll see how good he can be in the plug and play there. But offense is going to be the key, Ash, and their defense is phenomenal. They didn't lose too many key pieces. They're going to be just as good in the pass rush. But offensively, did they do enough in the offseason to make that jump? I don't know if Curtis Samuel and Ryan Fitzpatrick will be enough to completely fix this offense. But with that being said, I still have them finishing at a respectable 9-8, very similar to what I think they're at. Because, like you said, the NFC East is so crazy. But we'll see. We'll see who I decided between them and the Giants on the record on who I think is going to win. But keep in mind, I got the Washington football team going 9-8.
Yeah, I think Washington will be by far, at least in my opinion, the best out of the NFC East. I like their coach. I like Ron Rivera. I think he's solid for defense. He won't be fully battling cancer the whole season. I actually really low key love their running back group. Their O line is not the greatest. I think that's why they suffer a little bit in the running game. And I think the biggest decision why I don't have them going past 9-8 as a record is because of Fitzmagic. You know it, Andy, as a Dolphins fan and anyone who's ever had Fitzmagic as their QB. He will win you games, absolutely. He will surprise you for 2 games and then lose you 3 games
Yes.
terribly.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just you live and die by the magic. And I mean, the best team to ever manage that, I would say, would be the Dolphins because they would pull them halfway through a game, and it kind of worked out for them, but they still didn't make the playoffs, so it wasn't good enough. And I think in the NFC, you he just won't have that ability to crawl back against teams like Green Bay. I just don't see that. They have a tough game against Chargers to start out. That'll be a very interesting game to watch, Andy, to see tone set for both teams. But I have them going 9-8. I think it's respectable. It's a slight improve. I think next year they're a team to look out for, and I think they're probably gonna own the division.
Last team, Ashton. This is the Giants are a team that is probably my pick to be my sleeper pick for a playoff run. Now, that being said, I do not have them win the NFC East. And I'll explain why. So let's, instead of talking about the roster first, I want to talk about their schedule because it is brutal outside of the NFC East, right? So they travel to New Orleans. They travel to the Chiefs. They're at the Bucks. They're at the Dolphins. They're at the Chargers. They're at the Bears, which you know how good their defense is. And they're also, they're at home against your Rams. The Raiders are at home, which, Raiders aren't as tough, but still, that's not an easy opponent. But you look at those opponents, Ashton, and a lot of those road games are tough teams, reigning defending champions. The Los Angeles Rams, who look to be the best team to beat in the NFC outside of the Buccaneers, just because they're Super Bowl champions reigning. So their schedule's really tough, and they still have to play Washington on the road once a year, Dallas on the road, Philly on the road, and their NFC East opponents. So it's not easy. The Giants last year, Ashton, their problem was Saquon Barkley got hurt early on, and their offense could not pick it up under Daniel Jones. Barkley is back. They went out and they addressed that offense that was 31st in the league last year, Ashton, by getting speedy receiver John Ross. They go and they get Kenny Galladay from the Lions. Amazing stud receiver. Oh, yeah, but they also got Darius Slayton there. They also have Pettis there and Shepard there. Oh, and they draft Kadarius Toney from the Florida Gators. They literally flipped the script of the receiving core. They go and they already have Evan Ingram as a tight end. They go and sign Kyle Rudolph as well as a backup. I'm loving every single offensive signing they did on the offensive side of the ball, Ashton. Offensive line, still kind of a question mark. They didn't really do enough to address the offseason. It's all about the offensive line, that offense, because I feel like they have pieces there to make up for it. I think every other piece in their offense is good enough, except for Daniel Jones, which we all know about Daniel Jones. Okay, I don't have to say that. We know, you as Giants fans out there know, you're scared about Daniel Jones. This is his make it or break it year, because this is a team that's got the potential to make the playoffs. It does. But it's got a tough schedule, and you need your quarterback to rise above that. I love their offseason offensive pickups. Defensively, they return mostly the exact same group that they had last year. They have a pretty decent secondary with Bradbury there. They go and they get a Dory Jackson in the offseason as well. Danny Shelton from the Lions as well in this offseason. And they draft from Georgia the linebacker Azeez Ojulari. So I really like the Giants' offseason moves. I think they made a huge jump this year in talent from last season. However, that schedule, Ashton, it's just too brutal for me and too brutal for Daniel Jones, I believe, to overcome. And I had them missing out on the division by one single game. I got them going 8-9. But I would not be surprised if they can pick off a game or two and instantly change their record to a 10-7 and make the playoffs. Because this team, I love this team. You get the two NFC teams I'm most excited to watch for this season, Ashton, are the Carolina Panthers and now the New York Giants. These two teams, sleeper picks to get that wild card spot, and for the Giants, even win their division.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I'm excited to watch the Giants. I think they had a really stellar stud defense last year, and they were like the Chargers of the NFC in the sense that they were almost in it every game, Andy. If you look, they were in it every game, and they just barely lost a lot of those games in close losses. Now the question is, Andy, can all those good additions to the offense, can it help raise Daniel Jones, or can Daniel Jones raise himself with an elevated offense around him and actually succeed? Like, I like that they're giving him the tools and saying, "Hey, this is your year, make it or
Mm-hmm.
break it." I love that from them. Now the question is, how can Joe Judge continue improving this team? I think after listening to him in the podcast with Sean McVay, Flying Coaches, I mean, he sounds very intelligent. Sounds like there's a reason why he got hired for a job. But now you're starting to see issues in training camp, Andy, like a giant brawl today.
Yeah.
That's signs of a bad culture. I don't know if that's true, Andy. Sometimes things happen. I know the Rams had a big brawl with the Raiders like 2 years ago, but it's still, you're having your own team brawl each other. That's definitely a lot different, a lot worse. So hopefully he can get that sorted out. That's causing me some issues, Andy, with believing in Joe Judge a little as a culture. Like that's a big part of a football team, Andy. Like the NFL, sometimes it's about inches, and if you don't have a good culture and your team isn't completely gelled, it doesn't matter how much talent you have, you're going to lose games against teams that are more cohesive even if they have less talent. The Browns in 2018, I believe, proved that plenty. All the talent in the world, not cohesive at all. I think the Giants have a solid year, but I do think they disappoint. And ironically enough, I have them going 7-10. So I have them one worse than you. Um, you say it like that schedule. They have to play the Saints, the Broncos at home.
I even forgot
Um,
about the Broncos. See, even
yeah, the
more.
Broncos at home is really hard. A lot of people don't realize. Now they get a little lucky because it's the first game on the season, and I hope if you're their trainer, you get them out to Colorado 2 weeks early and you train there for 2 weeks. That way, when you go there, it's actually not as hard of a game. That's actually kind of lucky to have them first game in the season at home, in the sense of you can prepare for it, but hard game to win. They have to play the Panthers. I I have them losing to Oakland, and they got the Buccaneers. It's a rough schedule,
Brutal.
Andy.
It's a
Outside
brutal,
and your
brutal schedule.
Dolphins,
Yep.
yeah.
I mean, it's a
So
brutal schedule. It really is.
it's like every team that's outside of their conference, besides Atlanta, is like very hard.
And they're on the road, right? You look at the Bucks are on the road, Dolphins on the road, the up and coming Chargers are on the road. They get the Rams. Luckily, they get the Rams in New York, but is that really going to make a difference? I mean, well, the Rams did lose to the Jets last year, so we never know. But I don't see that happening again, Ash. I don't think you do either. So it's a tough, brutal schedule. That's what's going to hold them back. And if you're right, if that fight just keeps on happening and even more stuff in the culture keeps being a problem, you're going to see demands of trades, you're going to see stuff, and then just completely break down from the inside out. But I hope that doesn't happen because it's an exciting team, and I like what they did.
Yeah, Andy, just to go back, and I broke down my offensive and defensive rankings. Um, no, it's not really shocking. Almost all these teams rank near the exact same for me. I have Washington, the 20th ranked team out of 32. I have the Giants 22nd, Dallas 23rd, and of course the Eagles 26th. So I think they're all almost equal. I give Washington a slight edge for coaching and defensive talent, but they all got, only way to go is up, I guess, and they all is slightly improved this season.
Yeah, guys, but that's gonna wrap it up for all of our NFC projections. The NFC East for me specifically, I have the Washington football team just above the Giants, and then the Cowboys just a game below that, and then those three up here, and the Eagles down here. Ashton, your projection, if I had this correct, is Washington number one, and then you had the Eagles two at two, and then Cowboys dead last. Okay, that's his, that's mine. But we will be coming out. We will be coming out shortly, guys, with our NFC power rankings. Now that we are done with the entire conference, 1 through 15, it will be kind of our aggregate. Me and him combining ours to form an average power ranking. We'll go through it with all of you guys as well, and then we will get started with the AFC. We might follow suit what we did with the NFC and start with the West with the Chargers and the Chiefs out there. So if not, there's plenty of AFC talent except for the South to talk about. So stay tuned for that, guys. Remember to hit that subscribe button, like and comment. We like hearing your feedback, even when you think we're dead wrong. Still enjoy it. So thank you guys for watching. Stay safe out there and enjoy some football coming up very soon.